we want to take the time to thank you for participating in this collection of oral histories, especially when we think of and consider the importance of historic Overtown, and we really value your voice. And so if you would please give me your full name, where and when you were born, and what is your connection to historic Overtown?
Okay, my name is Berdine Smith, original from Tennessee. Back there I was reading Stars when I came to Miami. But what is connecting me with Overtown, when I came from St. Petersburg, I came from Tennessee to St. Petersburg, from St. Petersburg to Miami. So there where I was talking today about looking for a church. I was hired from Sir John for a waitress. When you are a young lady with a child and working and don't know anybody, you have to be mindful of your surroundings. And there was time when you run through hard times. So my focus was, let me find me a church where I can meet people. So that's where I started looking for a church. But in the meantime, as I said in the beginning, my daughter had already joined St. John because a lady named Annie Mae Taylor, she made friends with her. And she took her as a child, for my child, because I was working. So she took her, and she was an usher at St. John. So the story that I told this morning, do I need to go back over it or just?
Oh, we'll have a couple questions, and
Okay.
you can at some points.
Yeah, and that's where my connection with Overtown. But when I was hired in the children's center, I was working with the children, and I was driving the bus, station wagon, picking up children. So that's where my connection was in Overtown, because I drove all the way around looking, picking up kids, and even in Liberty City. So that was my.
Okay. And when were you born?
I was
Yes.
I was born March the 14th, 1931.
1931.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you tell me about some of your fondest memories about working or being in historic Overtown?
The fondest members of being in Overtown. Overtown, when I joined St. John was my safe haven. Because when I came here, I was when you come to a new town, you lower in spirit, you lower everything because you know nobody. You were running away from a bad situation and come into another situation that you don't know anybody. So with a young lady, with a child, you have to be mindful of your surroundings. So Overtown has been, with the children, has been my safe haven. Yes.
You mentioned with kids, you would say that, tell me about your connection with the children of Overtown, because I've heard you say a lot of times in the last hour how much you love them.
Yeah, working with children in Overtown, because when they bring the children from in Overtown, some of them bring the children to school as babies, and they don't have clean clothes and they be dirty. But I've learned to take the children and give them a bath and clean them up. If the hair was dirty, I wash them and wash the hair and try to do the best I can as long as they was clean. But some of those babies, they come in, they be soaking wet. And I would say to the parents, why didn't you change it? Well, I didn't have time. I said, but you can't bring your child out here like that. But I would accept the child as they bring them, and I would clean them up myself because we had a washer and a dryer. And then we have clothes there that people bring, from other children that didn't need their clothes. So, we washed, if they didn't have one, they put something around the babies, wash their clothes and put them in the dryer and put them back on. And that's my connection. And these Overtown children have been my children, because when you're working with children, they become your children, because you have to treat these children with respect. If you want respect from the children, you have to give them respect too.
I love that, Ms. Smith. How I believe your career in working with children in historic Overtown, how many years?
57 years.
And out of the 57 years, what were the age ranges? Because you said from babies.
From infants to 5, in the beginning, infants to 5 years.
Okay.
That's what we had to work with, from infants to 5. And we would get them up, we would graduate them into the preschool, and then they go from us to the school.
I love
Yes.
that. Have you ever experienced any crises? And when I say crisis, I mean extreme weather, hurricanes, gentrification, crisis type events in historic Overtown. Have you personally experienced?
No, not in Overtown. No, because it wasn't. We had hurricane, but nothing never hit Overtown. But where I eventually moved to, where we did have Hurricane Andrew, and that was kind of devastating. But as far as hurricanes, I have never experienced a really hurricane.
Okay. And can you think of any other type of crisis that you believe, other than that, maybe weather related, for historic Overtown?
Well, it's a lot of crisis in Overtown, because people they fall down. You know, sometimes songs say I fall down, but I get up, fall down. But they go in a bad situation and they get on drugs and everything. And sometimes you can make your own life bad. But you have to treat people, because when I first started working in the childcare center, the gate would be open and there would be homeless people. But when we opened up in the morning, they'd be laying by the step. So I tell them, I said, but you can't sleep here. They said, well, why I can't sleep? I said, but this is a childcare, so children's coming in. So sometimes I have to call the police, and they wouldn't respond to me. But when I call the police come in and take a little stick and try to shake them. And then when they look up and see the officer, they go home, but they escort them out. But when people come, sometimes when people come to a center, some come hungry. But if you have something, give them something to eat. You can't judge nobody. You don't know what situation that they come. And I always try to feed people when they come in, because it's food left over from the children. And if I have something left, I would fix them a plate, wrap it up, and give it to them. They go out the gate. But you have to meet people where they are.
You mentioned, so homelessness is something that you've seen in Overtown, that you've experienced it personally, and it sounds that it's deeply affected you.
It does. It really does. Right today, it affected me, because when they come to you, don't know why, you don't know where, but you can't judge them. The only thing that you can do is do your best to give them something. If it's some clothes that they need, if you have something, give it to them. Make them feel like they're worthy. Because some of them just feel unworthy. They feel like nobody cared, but you have to love them anyway. And love, sometimes when you love people, it would change their mind. If they have anything up here, they would change. Well, it's nice to me. Why am I doing this? And eventually, they start coming in. And some of them come in, they want to hand out. If I had something, I'd give it to them. Some of them come in the bar. I need $1. I'm gonna bring it back. I said, look, I'm gonna give you this $1 this time. But if you don't bring it back to me, I will not give it to you. But you have to love people regardless.
It sounds like you've seen a crisis and you responded, but how have you seen Overtown, historic Overtown, respond to the crises that it faced?
Well, the church that I was at, St. John, we used to give out food almost every other Thursday or every Thursday. We go to make connection with the food bank. They bring food in, so we would pack up clothes, food and everything, and give them food and clothes at the same time. That was every other Thursday or every once a month or something, whenever we can. But when people come, even on church service, when we had breakfast in there, people come up there, they want something, but fix them a plate and let them go. But this is how that you treat people. and some of them would get better. And sometimes when you need your yard cut, if you get some of those people that you think nobody, and give them a rake and a hoe and go out there and clean the children's playground, you would be surprised what you have. Because some of them would take a lot of pain out there. And you would give them a little something to bless them with. You just don't use them for nothing.
As someone who has worked for, sounds a lot of dedication of your time and your energy in historic Overtown, what can you tell me now that you see as the most serious threat?
Well, we still have now a very, it seems like it should be getting better, but seems like people's mentality, we get a lot of mental people just running around just don't know. We have done so much for people, and not that we brag about it, but we welcome them in and try to give them a break in life, and then send them back and come back and take advantage of it. But even though that, you still have to forgive them. You can't just throw them in jail for everything, because you don't know what their needs are. And the main thing about it, take them and pray for them. You don't know, but God is good. Only thing you have to ask God is for, sometimes God just want to say, have mercy on me and have mercy on them. We don't have a long length of prayer, but just say, oh God, give them strength. Give me strength to deal with what I have to deal with. Even though the babies, because some of the parents take advantage of you. Because when we have children sometimes, the parents didn't come and pick them up on time. But instead of me calling the welfare to come pick up the children, I would take the children home with me, because I was transporting, and some of them I take to and give them a bath, feed them, and bring them back the next day. But I can't do that. We could do that back then, but not today. Because this is what you have to do.
Ms. Smith, everything that you said so far in regards to historic Overtown, not just your service here, really resonates with people. And people that are struggling, or people that need help, or people that need comfort, and people that need shelter. What do you think would protect historic Overtown from these types of threats? And when I say threats, I mean, if you think that the crises are people that need help, how can we protect Overtown to either get them help? Have you seen that historic Overtown has areas for help, or it sounds as if it's always resonated with the people helping the people?
Sometimes it's the people themselves, because some people may like they shooting bad and they use you as long as they can, but you don't know who's who. But when you go so far, you have to cut it off. A length of time, you have to say no more now, because I have done all I can do. And then when you see them, otherwise, they're doing other things. But then they come back and break into the school and break into this, but you don't know who it is. But sometimes you do. But you have to try to protect. Our job was to protect the children and the environment around the children. So people sometimes they don't want to do better. They want everything free, and nothing is free.
How do you think that Overtown can move forward with what you're talking about with those who struggle in Overtown, the people?
Well, this is something with the politician too. Sometimes you put people on the street, they're homeless, but some of them make room for people to have a place to live. This I have experienced myself. They give a place to live, but they think there's too many rules there, and they can't follow the rules. But in anything in life, it's a rule there. If you want to make something out of yourself, you would try. If you don't want to make them out of yourself, you can be whoever you want to be. But when you go so far, you can't do it anymore. But you can try to get them help, and they don't want to hear that, because they want to do what they want to do, but they want you to be the responsible for what, but you have to let them know, I've gone as far as I can go. Now you have to help yourself. Even though when you're raising children, you have to teach your children the same thing. Baby, I can help you this far, but you have to walk out on your own. I'm teaching you daily. And you have to be firm in your thinking. You have to be firm. And this is come from home. But most of the children now, children having babies and they don't know what to do with them. And everybody is on the street. And men's right now, some of the ladies on welfare checks, they messing around with the wrong person. The men's come in and take from the children, and the mother allow that. And we have to stand firm. As women, we have to stand firm.
So the crisis you've mentioned that you've experienced, that you've seen in Overtown, you've touched on homelessness, drugs, childcare, and housing.
Housing.
What do you want people to know about you or remember about you as your beautiful, wonderful age? And then also, what would you like people to remember and know about historic Overtown?
What I would like for them to remember about me is remember me as I treat you. If I'm nice to you, remember me. If you don't, then I know somebody that would. Because what I do is not for pay. What I do is from my heart. And if you appreciate me, whatever, but don't try to use me, I can go so far. But just remember me, I was a good person, I'm trying to help somebody, and I would do it regardless of what.
You mentioned earlier when you moved from Tennessee to St. Petersburg to Miami, and you ended up in Overtown. Sounds like it was a home, sound like it was a haven. What would you want people to remember about historic Overtown, the community?
Well, what I can tell people about historic Overtown, when I came from St. Petersburg to Miami, I lived with a room with the lady. So we lived right down from the mortuary, Richardson Funeral Home. And then my little girl was about 4 or 5 years old. And she was my angel. Because there was times when I had a bad stuttering problem. I had no confidence because I stuttered, and then people be talking to you, they laugh at you, and then they walk away from me. But they say what they want to say to me, but I have the opportunity to reciprocate. So I felt unworthy. But my daughter, she was a bad luck. She would stand up regardless, and she like that right today. If you tell her something that mother so-and-so and so, and I would say no, well, why? You have to explain to her why she can't do this or why. Always why. When she was a little girl, I would be driving. Back in those days, you wouldn't need a car seat. She would stand in the back with me, and I didn't know direction that well, but she would stand back, and sometimes she would mark the place where I'm supposed to go. And sometimes she would say, Mother, you passed, you drive. I said, I did. She said, you're supposed to turn back there. But she knew directions. And when she see a bulletin board, she would always say, what that spell? What that spell? And I could drive, but what that spell? And I said, oh, I'll be so glad when you can read. Because she always wanted to know what that spell and why. The meanings of it, why. And she write that right today, and she's 70 years old. But when you can't tell her what she want to know why, what that means. And it's a joy to me with these children, because I came from a big family, but my mother passed when I was 10 years old. And I never had a mother training, never know. But sometimes you could say, well, the neighbors could help, but it wasn't back there then. We came from working in the fields, picking cotton, chopping cotton, did hard labor, and we made our clothes, what few we had, and you just live the best you could. But they taught us to, because back then they didn't have bathrooms where I came from. We had tubs, 9-inch tub that they would boil the water and everybody take a bath once a week. Only thing you do is you wash your feet and try to get in the bed, do the best you can. But we lived on a farm where we had food we could cook, make biscuits, and we go to school. We would have our little lunch box in a little gallon bucket. Sometimes the girls who was more well than them, they would bring these little fancy things in no lunch bucket, and we would look at their food and they look at ours. And sometimes we wish we were like them, and they dressed nice and we didn't. So sometimes they want to eat what we had because it was more fulfilling than what they had. But this is kind of thing that you have to learn to live with. And going to school, you had to walk miles. And I came up a hard time, and I appreciate my life today.
What brings you the most joy and pride when you think about historic Overtown? I think I have a guess, but I would love to hear your answer.
Well, it's just proud. I'm just proud to be a part of it, because I know everybody. Most all these kids over here know me, and I'm proud. And they run to Miss Smith, and I can see them, grown men come back and see them after they done left the school and graduated. Come back and say, I'm glad you spanked my butt. Thank you for taking care of me right today. And it is a joy. And sometimes, I had children, once a state trooper, I was driving to them, and I was on I-95, and I saw that light, and I said, oh God, what did I do? And she pulled me over. And she said, Miss Smith, I saw you, I had to say hello. God give them. And I feel so proud of my life. Even though it was hard time, but I feel proud of myself. I do.
I love that, Miss Smith.
I do.
Do you have any final thoughts that you would like to, as we conclude, of what you're concerned about with historic Overtown?
Historic Overtown is mixing. It is being divided now with all kinds of people. But we have to treat those people, the rest of the other nation come in. But you can win people by just with a smile sometimes. Even though some of them come up that you can't speak English. I have learned, even in the grocery stores, people come up and can't speak English, but you have to try to listen to what they're saying. If you can't understand them, because I learned to read lips and learn to read signs sometimes. So you have to love people regardless. God is love, honey. It don't matter, because these people come looking for a place. They come from hard. You can see how these babies suffer. And that touches my heart so much. So many babies are dying hungry for just an apple, just a piece of something. We have to be compassionate. We have to be humble. And we have to do unto others, and you will let them do unto you. I don't know what you go through with, but when you come to me, I can't judge you. Sometimes we just have to listen to them, let them tell you their story. Then you reciprocate with them with your story. Then you can make communication.
Thank you so
It's
much.
beautiful.
Just beautiful.
Like, I don't know y'all, but I love you. y'all so nice. I'm telling you, when you walk up to me and say, I love you. I don't care.
Good. Okay, perfect.